Greetings and salutations, everyone. I do hope everyone is still doing well, and welcome to today's second half. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. The merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click that bell icon. And folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. And now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to tonight's second half, shall we? All right, folks, this is a two-part interview with a mom sharing her experiences in two different states with her and her daughter. Let's jump into it. All right, everybody, today I have a subscriber who reached out a while ago to share encounters with me. Her name is Lori Ann. She has a couple of encounters in two different states, I believe. Lori Ann, how are you?
Great, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm glad that you finally got to come on. I'd love to just hear your encounters the way you tell it. So I think you have one that happened in Indiana and then a couple of them in New Hampshire. So what we'll do is we'll go from the first one and work our way to present day. If we run out of time, and if you're willing to, you can come back and share whatever we didn't get to.
Okay, great. Yeah, we'll do Indiana tonight, and we'll do New Hampshire because both of them combined is probably going to take a while. So.
All right, perfect. All right, well, the floor is yours. Thank
you. All right, so this goes back to 2010. My husband and I, we were living out in Northern California, and we decided that we were going to move back out to New Hampshire. So we drove our Dodge Magnum with a U-Haul trailer hitched to it, with everything we owned inside that trailer. And we went more towards like the northern states, and then we ended up obviously in Indiana. But before we get there, I just got to share a little piece that is very important. My husband at the time loved to, he was kind of eccentric, and he liked to collect different things. And he ended up meeting an older gentleman who taught him how to cure beaver pelts. Just the skin and the fur of the beaver. Well, we had one from California, and of course he had to take it in the U-Haul, stinky, in the U-Haul with all of our stuff and our clothes and everything across country with us. So I don't know if you're familiar with curing skin, but I'm not sure about human skin. I'm not talking about that, but just the beaver skin, you have to put it in with a certain, I think it's iodized water and salt and whatever else. I can't remember what else is in there. but it's in a big Tupperware bin, and it does have the lid on it, but then he cut holes in the top to let it air out. So this thing is sloshing around in the U-Haul behind our car. So we hit Indiana. It was about, let's say, not yet midnight, but getting close to midnight. I don't know if I'm saying the name of the place right, but I want to say Potato or Tomato Creek. I can't remember if it was Potato or something like that, but it was a state park. So we figured we were going to go crash there and then check it out the next morning. So we have 2 little boys at the time in the back seat, and so we pull in, and we see a vehicle flying out, and we didn't pay any mind to it. We just figured somebody was leaving, but they left kind of quick. And
not to cut you off, but it's
yep.
Potato Creek State Park. I just looked it up.
Oh, that's it. That's it. Thank you for that. Yeah, in South Bend, Indiana, right?
Yep.
Okay. So, well, we didn't really get to check out too much because of what happened. So, anyways, when we pulled in and parked, my husband, he was in a perfectly good mood. But when we were sitting there, and he was literally just staring. You know, sometimes if somebody's tired, they just get this dead stare, this dead gaze. He was doing that out through the looking out through the windshield, but just like looking at the pavement, looking at nothing. And I'm like, "What's wrong with you?" He goes, "I don't know. I feel weird." Like, he goes, "Don't you feel weird?" I said, "What do you mean weird?" And he thought that, he said the only way to explain it is that feels like a bunch of people staring at him or watching him. And he's not that kind of person to express those kind of feelings. He's kind of a no bull crap kind of guy, straight to the point. So he wouldn't talk about anything like that normally. So him saying that gets me on edge a little bit, because we're the only vehicle in this dark parking lot area, and there's nothing but woods and a little building. And you can tell there's water. You can see water far out. But anyways, I roll down my window. I figured maybe get some air in the car. And this stench filled the car. And when I mean stench, I mean like, I thought it was the pelt, to be honest with you, but it smelled like, the best way I could say it is the way a dog smells coming in from the rain, but with trash at the same time too. So I thought it was either the beaver pelt, or sometimes those parts, the trash cans can get overloaded and you can smell them a mile away. But the place looked pretty clean, and I didn't see any trash laying around anywhere besides. There was a trash can, but no trash anywhere near us. So my window is down, and Michael, my husband, looks out my window, and he asked me if I saw movement. And I told him I didn't see anything at all. I'm literally just looking nowhere, just looking around. I didn't see anything. And he's like, well, maybe I'm just freaking myself out. So he decides he's going to get out, go relieve himself, come back in, and we're going to get some sleep. He opens up the door, and then he comes running. Well, he gets out of the car, and then all of a sudden he comes running back into the car, slams the door, and he goes, roll up the window now. And I go, why? He goes, roll up the window now. There's somebody over there. Roll up the window now. And I go, what are you talking about? He goes, you don't get it. He goes, there's somebody over there, and they sound pissed. Roll up the window. We don't know where we're at. Well, we know where we're at, but we don't know who's around us. Like, he was afraid. And I'm like, what does it matter if there's somebody near us anyways? Like, he kind of going crazy on me. And I've never seen him like that ever out of almost 20 years now. But back then, I've known him for a long time, and I've never, ever, ever seen his behavior like this. So as soon as he gets in the car and tells me that, literally, while he's finishing his sentences, we felt a nudge. And it was enough that I don't know how to, okay, so when the trailer is attached to the car, if somebody wiggles the trailer, the car will feel, the car will get the end of that motion. And that's exactly what it felt like. So it didn't feel like somebody moved the car. It felt like it came from the trailer. And Michael and I are looking at each other, both confused, both scared, because now here we are thinking that somebody's messing with us. This one's harder. And I go, Michael, please, let's go. He goes, yeah, we're getting out of here. So he starts up the car. He puts it in drive. And he's backing up because we're pulled in straight. Well, not all the way in straight, but mainly straight. So he's backing up. And then as he's backing up, we all of a sudden, we're getting shook like you wouldn't believe, because the trailer's shaking. You can see the trailer moving. And then in the rear view, he said he saw ears. And then almost like the top of a dog's head. That's exactly what he told me. That's exactly what he told the police officer and everybody else we spoke to. I'm getting a little shaky. I'm sorry. But,
it's okay. Take your time.
When he told me that there were ears and the dog ears, and he's saying this, and it happened so fast and so quick. He was backing up, and then, like I said, it was shaking violently, and then it sounded like somebody was ripping open metal or aluminum, just like that high-pitched scrape noise, and I mean, it was so loud, and there was so much movement. And Michael has it in drive-by now, and then he's trying to take off, and he's not speeding, obviously, but he's puts a little bit on the gas pedal, and I'm like, go, go, go. He's like, I'm trying, I'm going. But he's like, it's like we have more weight. And then all of a sudden, when he tries to hit harder, then you can feel the vehicle just release, like something went off of the vehicle. And all we saw was darkness go right back into the woods. And Michael ended up getting, I can't remember which highway it was, but getting back onto the highway. And on the way to the highway, we're trying to figure out what the hell it was, but we weren't going to stay there. So we got onto the highway, and we ended up pulling over somewhere else. We called the police, and we're looking at our U-Haul. There was so many, do you know way to describe it? Claw marks. I mean, and some blood, and whatever it was, which we know now what it was, ripped the U-Haul open like it was a can of sardines, like it was nothing. That was the metal that we were hearing, and all that tugging, all of that shaking was from that. And now piecing it all together, we think he smelt, or she smelt, the beaver pelt. And it was going after an easy source. So we call the police, a sheriff shows up. And Michael told him exactly what he saw. With the ears on top of, like, the dog head, like we were talking about earlier with German Shepherds. It's basically a German Shepherd head. He would guess, he said, with how the ears sit up top. Just, I guess, between like a German Shepherd and like a horse in a way, you know, because they're directly on the top there.
Right.
And they go straight up. But he said the size of the ears and what he saw on top of the head, and obviously what we were feeling, this thing had to have been enormous or weighed more than we could imagine. We're talking to the sheriff. He's taking pictures, and he said that they've been having issues with the bear in the area, and he's going to call somebody that will take care of us. And here I am freaking out. I'm like, I want answers. I want to know what this thing was, and, you know, what do we do? And, you know, are things completely destroyed? And, and go find it. Like, come on. If it's doing it to us, it could possibly hurt somebody, like, tremendously. But he told us to sit tight, and within, I'd say, an hour, SUVs come in, and all black. They were dressed very nicely, and two of them walk over to Michael and I. One goes with me, one goes to Michael. And the questions that I'm asked were basically, what did you see? What did you hear? What do you think you saw? What do you think you heard? And the number one question, did you take any pictures? And he asked if he could see my phone. And I showed him my phone, and then a few minutes later I see Michael giving his phone to the other guy. And they're going through our phones. They meet up together. And I asked Michael what he talked about, and he told me what they spoke about. It was basically the same things, asked a bunch of questions, but then re-asked the questions again, but in a different way. And then the guy comes back, and, not to mention, that some of our stuff is literally like destroyed in there too, because we had everything we owned inside this trailer. When I mean everything, I mean everything we had as a family going across country to move back. So when the guy came over to us, he handed Michael his phone. They said that they needed to keep my phone for evidence. And I said, but I didn't take any pictures. And he said he needed it because that was the phone that we used to call for help. So they took my phone, and then they said that they'll put us up in a hotel, but they're going to need the car and they're going to need the trailer. And I said, but for what? This is our stuff. And they said that now they're confiscating everything for evidence. And they told me not to worry, that it was just a rogue bear and everything's going to be fine. And I said, if it's just a rogue bear, why are you taking everything that we own? I mean, I'm talking our kitchen table, a microwave, well, not the beds. We left the beds behind. Well, we had a toddler bed in the crib in there. But, I mean, everything, our TVs, plates, knickknacks, our safe with Social Security cards, birth certificates, marriage certificate in there. I mean, everything. I mean, everything that makes up a home, besides the beds, was in the U-Haul and in our car.
Right.
And they took it. They took everything. And they told us that they'll be in touch, and if we have any questions, to call them. And they told us that there was nothing but a bear, and so we're... Oh, hold on, it's car going by. Oh. So we are at this hotel, and I'm thinking to myself, he said, if I have any questions, here's the number. Like, no number. Like, why didn't we get a number? And no card, no information whatsoever. So how are we going to contact them? Like, what are we supposed to do? He told us that to contact us if we have any questions. So how are we going to do that? All these things are going through my head, and thinking to myself, a bear? No way. I don't think a bear could do something like that. How could that happen? And if there was a bear, I highly doubt it's going to jump on the back of a U-Haul and try and rip it open. And the ears, from what my husband was describing, I've never seen a bear with German Shepherd or horse, like between German Shepherd and horse ears.
Right. Now, really quick, did you see the ears yourself too?
No.
Okay. Because a lot of people, actually one person that I talked to, he described the ears like German Shepherd, but large, like a rabbit's, and how they stuck up, but still like a dog's ear.
Yes.
Okay.
It's got that thickness to it.
Yep.
Like, you know how at the tip of the dog's ear, it's almost like puffy in a way.
Yep.
It's got all that tissue or cartilage right there, and that's exactly it. Yeah, I mean, from what he said, that's putting a German Shepherd and the horse ears together and seeing the average pictures of what we call a Dogman, yeah, it matches 100%. The character matches 100%. And to top this story off, we got a check from the Treasury. Sorry. We ended up getting a check from the Treasury for close to $20,000. There was nothing else attached to the check. There was nothing else that we heard from them. I mean, literally nothing else. It was just boom, done. That was it.
So you never got your kitchen table, your microwave, all your worldly possessions.
They took everything.
And what happened after the night? So they bring you to this hotel.
Yep.
What then?
So we called my mom from the hotel. We only had one phone. Mm-hmm. I'm freaking out, panicking, literally just completely upset. And Michael's talking to me. And before we got there, because he had a little bit of a conversation with them, they did say that, don't worry, we'll set everything up. We'll take care of you. We'll get you a car home. Or do you want to fly home? And I said, I'm not flying anywhere, but I just want to go to my mom's house. I just want to be with my mom. I want to get my kids out of here. I just want to go. I don't know where I'm at. Well, I knew where I was at, but I'm not familiar with the area. I just want to get out of there. Everything that happened, I mean, it was almost like a nightmare. I mean, it was just, it was crazy. I mean, something like that happening, you would never think that something like that would happen. And it did. And there's only one way to explain it, and that's exactly of what happened. And you know, whether people believe you or not, and that's the hardest part about it, to be honest with you. But, well, you know yourself as having an encounter yourself, you know, people are going to think you're crazy.
Yeah.
You know? And so explaining to my mom what happened, you know, and telling her that they told us it was a bear. My mom, you know, from living in New England, a bear wouldn't do that.
Right.
That doesn't sound like a bear. And, you know, just all the characteristics, it doesn't add up. So anyways, they brought us to the hotel. They got us a car, well, a rental, that brought us from Indiana to Pennsylvania. And we were at a Holiday Inn. I can't remember where in Pennsylvania. I was so distraught. And my mother's husband drove from New Hampshire to Pennsylvania and picked us up and drove us back. They have a van, so they picked us up. But like I said, we ended up getting a check. The check basically covered our car. And I'm assuming they think that it covered everything else that was in there. But you don't put a price on sentimental things and things that meant a lot to you and things you've been collecting and
right.
Your Christmas ornaments and things like that. I mean, they took it. They took my stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, why? Why do you need? I tried begging and pleading with them. I'm like, I'll take everything out. You can have the U-Haul. You can have the car. I want my stuff. Please, or I'll wait here. We won't leave. You know, even if it takes you, 10 days, we don't mind hanging out. Just please give me my stuff. That's all I want. And they kept saying that they needed it for evidence. And there was no begging. There was no pleading, no changing their mind whatsoever. And that was that. They took our stuff. I mean, we were allowed to take everything that was out of inside the car, our personal belongings and the diaper bag and the kids' car seats and the stroller and things like that. But we gave them everything. They said it was for evidence.
So what they deemed necessary for you to get by for the next couple of days, they said,
yeah,
take that. But
they left us high and dry.
I
yeah.
mean, that's insane. That is insane.
Yep. And no number to call, no nothing. I didn't even get a card from the sheriff that showed up first. Which I thought it was weird that a sheriff showed up unseen. I mean, well, in my area, when you call for help, a police officer, a regular uniformed police officer normally shows up to a call. And then, from there on out, he calls all the services that beneath it. But when I was telling 911 what happened and where I was, that they sent a sheriff, one little sheriff, and then he goes and makes a call to whoever these guys are, which we all know who they are now.
Yeah.
But, and it's crazy. They think that they can just take everything that belongs to somebody, and to them, it's just like a piece of paper. It's their quote unquote evidence, and they probably just junked everything after, and why I just don't understand why we couldn't get our stuff back, like where they were obviously probably swabbing for DNA, this and that, yada yada yada. But like I said, why couldn't I have my things that were inside? Yeah, a couple things got destroyed, but not everything. But yeah, so that was Indiana encounter.
That is mind-blowing. This is pretty much the first time, I mean, you and I have spoke 2 or 3 times in regards to New Hampshire and a couple of other little things. But that's mind-blowing.
It's crazy.
And just like you said, the sheriff, you're at a state park, so you'd either think like an NCON officer or DEC, or a state trooper at least,
It happened at the state park, but we got on the highway and moved away.
Okay.
But still, yeah, the scene of it was at a state park. But you are absolutely right. Like a state trooper, or somebody else
on the highway, you'd think, okay, sheriffs are county, state is, Then when I looked up Potato Creek State Park, I was looking, and then I looked up, Bear in Indiana. They say on the internet that bears in Indiana are in the southern zone of Indiana, which where you had this encounter is nowhere near the southern zone. First of all, how is a bear, like you said, a bear is not going to tear a U-Haul. It's a black bear live in Indiana. Their claws are designed for digging, not tearing.
Exactly. Yeah. And for berries and for fish and things like that.
How big was the hole in the trailer? Like how big?
Holes, you mean?
Holes,
they were okay.
I mean, could a person physically, like, let's say, could a person or a large man or thing get into the trailer through these holes?
A human being could not. Well, a large human being could not get through the hole, but a toddler could get through one of the holes. Okay.
All right. Because I was thinking if the holes were huge, maybe
there were four. I call them rips or tears.
Okay.
So there was one on like the left side part of it, like in towards the back, and then the other 3 were on the top, like where the top part, but where, like at the very end where it would open. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So like at the top back area. But there were 3 big areas, but one of those big areas you could, if a 2-year-old were sitting up there, he could fall through.
Okay.
It was huge. I mean, it pulled it back. Like you don't realize how thin these things are until you see something like this.
Right. It was
and I think it's aluminum.
Yeah, it probably peeled it like a tin can.
Like an orange.
Yeah, like a
yeah.
On top of, I mean, a Dodge Magnum is got a rather large engine in them. It's not like a little car. It's a heavy vehicle. You got a trailer full of your worldly possessions, which is a lot of weight.
Yep.
Whatever this thing, I mean, there was some great amount of strength. One bear could not pull or hold, a trailer and a Dodge Magnum going forward back, that's insane.
I mean, if it was the feeling of when it was released, that gave us the realization of how strong this thing was.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because at the release, it was just boom, we took right off. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like, I couldn't believe, because Michael's like, I'm giving it some, and obviously not all the way to the ground, to the floor, but still trying to give it some to get going. And we're going like centimeters or inches at a time.
Right.
And we're not going anywhere. We're not making any progress. Then all of a sudden, there we go. We're gone. And by the way, we had the Hemi in that car.
Yeah, I was gonna. Yeah, because then there's a lot of power right there. So.
And it was only 3 months old too. The car. Yeah. So he was a little upset over that one.
I can imagine.
But
what was the demeanor of the? I'm sorry. What were you gonna say?
Oh no, you can go.
What was the demeanor of the sheriff when he first came? What was his attitude like?
At first, he was. You know what was weird about him? Michael even brought that up. He said you would have thought it was his birthday. Because when he first showed up, he was all right. And then as we're talking to him, but he just, not passing jokes, but just making light of the situation and
right.
Floaty, airy, like it's happened before. Like I couldn't believe it.
No astonishment.
Like nothing.
Not because if you or I or anybody else came across this, we'd be like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, like I'm sorry that this happened to you, and this and that. But my goodness, it was like just like a fun game for him, or an exploration or something, but like I said, he you can tell he was familiar with this kind of scenario.
Right. It wasn't his first rodeo there.
He knew who to call.
Now, how were their demeanors when were they kind of like pushy, rude?
Yes, they were very pushy at first.
Okay.
And then when they took Michael and I, when we separated and I spoke to one and he spoke to another gentleman, and then there were 5 other ones at the other vehicles. I did not speak to any other ones besides the 2 that came up to us, but Michael spoke to those two and the other guys, because they were explaining things to him a little bit, and I was still talking to the one that was talking to me when I was trying to beg and plead about getting my stuff, our stuff back. But anyways, no, they were very pushy with the questions, almost snooty when they kept circling around the questions again and asking the same questions but in a different way. And when I asked why he was asking me the same questions, he said, I just need to make sure that we have everything that we need. And I said, but I'm telling you, so you don't need to ask me again. I already said it. I was very upset. But the one that I was speaking to, he, like I said, pushy at first, and then he was kind of okay. But the one that took Michael aside, he was very, very snobby, very
matter
of fact.
Okay.
And yeah.
Now there was because your two kids were in the car. No compassion about that. No, just matter of fact.
No.
Right to business. Get this done. Get you out of here and shut up.
The sheriff was hanging out with the kids when they spoke to us, but one was still asleep in the car at first. Well, when everything happened, like when we first got there, they were both asleep. And then, so there's Silas, he's the younger one, but he was really little. He wasn't even a year old at that time. And then there's Eli, he was 3 at that time. So Eli woke up when Michael and I were talking, and he was asking a couple of questions of when Michael was acting not crazy, but just out of the norm.
Right.
And then Eli kind of simmered down and kind of in and out. But to be honest with you, I was more concerned about protecting my children and more looking out the windows and looking all around. And sure, I looked back a couple of times, but I knew that they were safe. I knew that they were there with me, so I was more concerned about what was going on outside of the car.
Right.
Michael, too. But then when the sheriff showed up, he hung out with them so we could talk to, as we call them, the MIB.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
That's, wow. I really...
It's crazy.
I'm at loss of words on this because, you'd at least expect to get your worldly possessions back or some sort of...
Or some kind of catch-up or them to contact us. Yeah.
Wow.
Nothing. We got a check, though. We knew exactly who it came from.
Yep.
But it was basically stay quiet and stay over there kind of thing,
Okay.
And which is sad. It's sad because something like that happening, I can't say it ruins your life, but it changes your life. It changes the way you think.
Yeah.
It changes of how you look at things. Even to the point of it changes your religious views in a way.
Yeah, it gives you a whole new perspective of life and what you thought you knew.
Exactly. And we'll get into the other encounters another night.
We're coming up on time right now. But I wanted to ask you one last question.
Yep.
We got about 4 or 5 more minutes. When you guys got to Philadelphia or Pennsylvania, and was there any contact after that? How did they know where to get the check to? did you give them your parents' address or what?
I left my mom's address on a piece of paper that I filled out with all my information.
Okay.
With the sheriff. Because I was hoping that we could get everything back and everything sent back, because that's where, that's where we were going to go anyways. We were going to stay with my mom until we ended up closing on the house. So I was hoping that we were going to get stuff back. I mean, months of waiting for our stuff, never knowing if something was going to get sent back or whatnot, but
yeah,
we'll never see it again. It's been years.
Unfortunately, no. And that's just it. Like we both just said, it's a whole new perspective on life, on what to think of, like you said, religion, the government. I mean, everything, because
they knew what it was.
Yeah,
the sheriff knew what it was.
Absolutely.
I mean, and after having what we have around here,
yeah,
they're everywhere.
Oh,
I mean, how can they not be? Yeah. It's just they're here. They're a part of our planet. They're a part of our land, and now we just have to coexist. I mean, there's people out there that want to hunt them and want to find them or do this or that. But it's like, okay, they're here. We don't need to mess with them.
Right.
We don't need to, go out and pin it on City Hall to prove that they're here.
Right.
We already have enough proof. I mean,
the way I look
for God's
at it
sakes, the government knows that they're here.
Yeah, the way I look at it is they've been here before we were.
Oh, absolutely.
And they had to learn how to exist with us. Now it's our turn to learn how to exist with them.
Oh, I totally agree.
Unfortunately, they are the apex predator, and that's where I think a lot of everybody's concern or whatever is that we are not the apex person or species anymore. It's that there's something out there that actually is almost as smart as us, possibly just as, and stronger than us. So.
Oh, by far. And people are sitting here saying, well, why all of a sudden everything's coming out? Why is everybody saying things now about them? Two reasons. One, we're overpopulated and we're digging into nature's territory with all the growth we have in America and everywhere else too. Yep. So we're digging into their land. We're digging into nature's land, and we're putting in concrete jungles.
Yeah. So
of course we're spreading out now as humans. Of course we're going to run into something somewhere along the line. And the other reason, I almost got hit by a car. I lost my train of thought, Jeff.
Oh, we are actually coming up on. I got a couple more. Like about a minute more.
Actually, do you want to just edit it out from?
No, I can't.
You asked your question.
No, this is fine. We're good. Don't worry about it. Is there anything that I want to have you come back? So after I stop recording, we'll plan on when you're going to come back. Is there anything that you'd like to say to everybody before we end the recording?
Oh, I just want to say, if you have an encounter, don't feel forced to talk about it unless you're ready. I wasn't ready for the longest time. One, I had to convince myself of what it was. You have to understand that it's an animal. It's here. So we have to accept it.
All right, folks, that was part 1 of this interview. Now I am going to give you part 2. Let's jump into it.
Lori-Ann, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me again. I'm really excited, and I can't appreciate this enough, or thank you enough for doing this. It's a wonderful platform, very welcoming, and the subscribers have been awesome with their comments and their feedback and some of the information they gave. It really does help with the therapeutic side of it too. The support has just been amazing, and I haven't really had that anywhere else. So I'm really grateful that I came your way, and I can't thank you enough for having me with open arms, and not just that, a better understanding of how to not just move on, but just deal with it and cope with it, and know that I'm not crazy, and if somebody does think I'm crazy, that it's okay, because this happened to me, not them, and that's just a part of my life, and that's that. So I can't thank you enough, Jeff.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, and I'm glad that we have the family in the comment section that we have. They're
for sure.
Support, and they're all really good people. So the majority of them, but so I'm gonna give you the floor so you can share what happened in New Hampshire. For all of those who are just tuning in and don't know Lori-Ann, look for, it was 9 days ago, Mom's Encounter at an Indiana State Park government cover-up. That was the first interview I had with her. So now we're going to get into the New Hampshire. Lori-Ann, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay. So when we came back from Indiana, as I said before, we met my mother's husband in Pennsylvania. He picked us up. We ended up going to New Hampshire at my mom's over in Milton, New Hampshire. We were there for a little while, and then my mom bought a piece of property in Somersworth, and right next door to it was another place available for us to get. So my mom is my neighbor. But anyways, so there we are. When we first moved there, it's funny because Jeff and I were talking about when I first moved in there and whatnot, and as somebody else said, hindsight is 20/20. And after having conversations with Jeff, it's all laying out a foundation, a platform of these things are here, or I may have been followed, or like I just said, they've been here for a while. I'm not sure. But when we first moved to Somersworth, we had a bunch of cats that would love to come to our back door, and the kids would feed them, and we had skunks too. There was a big mama skunk, and she had 3 or 4 babies that would follow her around. We saw a groundhog, and we had some really big raccoons. I mean, these babies were big, and obviously they would come out at night and whatnot. But for the first few months, we saw them, and they were slowly disappearing. And it was hard to break it to the kids that, especially with the cats, because they got used to the cats and whatnot. And we actually paid for some of the cats to get neutered so they would stop breeding, and they would disappear. And we had to, explain to the kids that sometimes other people will adopt them, or things happen, hit by a car or other animals or things like that. But then, a few months later after moving in, it went from having all these critters to nothing. Literally, there's no more cats around anymore. I haven't seen any skunks. Normally, like I said, when I first moved in, you could smell them, hear them. You don't smell them anymore around our area. Raccoons have been completely gone, and I'll get back into the raccoons when I talk about the juvenile encounter. But anyways, so my encounter, the second encounter, but my first one in New Hampshire, happened in May of 2019. Okay, it almost puts a pit feeling in my stomach when I start talking about it, because it's almost like a quick flashback of the feeling of the emotions that ran through my body, and just that feeling of my life. It's almost like that saying of people saying their life is flashing before their eyes, but I don't want to say that. It was more than that. It was to the core fear. Like I thought Indiana was bad. There's this took the cake. This was really, it impacted my life 10 times more than Indiana did. So May 2019, every night, before that, every night, I would walk my little one in the stroller, and even my other kids would go for evening walks with us, no matter the weather. We went down, I'm not going to say the road that I live on, but I will say the other road. We would walk down Buffonsville Road, and then we would cut over to down street and then onto 2nd Street, 3rd Street, and whatnot, and do loops, and then we would go home. And we would do those loops for sometimes 2 or 3 hours in the evening, colder weather. So one night, the kids were at my house, and as I said, my mom is my wonderful neighbor. She kept an eye on them so I could get a break and have some self-care time. And I went down Buffonsville Road, and like I said, this is May, so the weather was warm enough that I had a t-shirt, a pair of leggings, sneakers, and I had my phone in my hand, and nothing was on it. And I had my earphones that plugged into the phone, but I had them kind of like draped around my shoulder, and I just kind of carried my phone up near like my chest area where my arm was bent. So I'm holding my phone that way, and I'm, so the cord doesn't fall off of my neck. So I'm thinking I'm just going to have a little stroll by myself, and I didn't feel like doing the loops that we would normally do. I wanted to go down the river walk. And the river walk I'm talking about, it's called the Summersworth Salmon Falls River Walk or something like that, right off of Buffonsville Road. And it's just a trail right along the river, as it says. And all wooded area, and if you follow the trail, it goes towards, right on the other side of the river is Berwick, Maine. But if you keep going down the river, it brings you into South Berwick area. And it's all wooded area. So, as I said, I was going down Buffinsville, and I decided to go down the river walk. And right at the beginning of the river walk, there's an open parking lot that is all dirt, which is on the side of the road on Buffinsville Road. And sometimes people park their cars there overnight, like if they're visitors or guests of some of the houses along Buffinsville Road, because the driveways aren't big enough or whatnot. They park their cars over there. And some do it all year round, and you're able to. So there were a few cars there, and nobody was in them or anything, and I didn't think anything of it. But that night, it was dead quiet, which was strange for that time of year, especially for an evening that the weather was a little warmer. Like I said, it was in a t-shirt and leggings, and I was comfortable. And normally around that time, you would hear crickets, the frogs, especially being right along the river and having the woods right there. But there was nothing. And like I said, my headphones weren't in my ears at that point. They weren't at all that day. So I walked into the dirt area, and there's like this permanent access gate that's there that is, it's locked by a key lock, and if it's unlocked, the bar will swing open. And obviously, they keep it shut all the time, so people won't bring down their ATVs or sleds or anything like that, because the trail is kind of skinny, and one side of the trail there's woods in a good area of thicket. That's on like the right side of the trail, and then on the left side of the trail is just straight down river. So obviously it's for people's safety not to bring down machinery that way, and they don't want people to tear up the trail. Sorry, Jeff, this is just like, it gets me every time.
That's all right, take your time.
So I stopped for a moment, and I took the headphones that were wrapped around my neck, and I remember that I was looking on each headphone, because one's L and one's R or whatever, and I'm picky, and you can put them in whatever year, but whatever, that's besides the point. But I was doing that, and when I did that, I had that feeling that almost the one that my husband at the time described, of being watched. And here I am thinking, okay, it's in the evening, warmer weather, maybe there's people around, or somebody's down at the trail, or maybe it's somebody at the house, somebody's outside or something. And I kind of just turned around, because there's houses on the other side of the road from where I was standing. And I'm kind of just skimming by, and I get the headphones like in my hands, ready to put them in my ears, and I'm thinking, no, don't put the headphones in. And I debated on going back home, And I didn't. And it was one of those things, and I know everybody's going to comment on this. I know it's one of those woulda, coulda, shouldas that always listen to your first instinct, and I didn't. And I could still recall the day I had that day. It was kind of a rough day for me, and I just wanted, I just wanted to get out of the house that evening and just kind of be on my own and go on my walk, and nothing was going to stop that. So even though my gut instinct was to go home, I ignored it. As I said, I decided not to put the earphones in my ears. I wrapped them around my phone. And I took my phone and I had it in my left hand. And I would start to walk down the trail. And after you go around that green barred gate thing that I was explaining, there's like huge boulder rocks that are along the gate too, and along in the parking lot. So you got to kind of walk around those. And when I did that, it sounded like, when somebody is walking on sand or gravel, you can hear that the way their shoe sounds on it. So you can tell if somebody is wearing a shoe or not wearing a shoe. It sounded like somebody wasn't wearing a shoe. I knew that it was coming from ahead of me, but then I had to remind myself that I'm in an area that sometimes people go down there. There are cars in the parking lot, so it could have been anybody, but there was no light. And it was pretty dark, but there is a light in that parking lot, but not bright enough to shine down over there. But there are at the part of the trail where this happened to me, the trees are spread apart enough at the top that whatever light by the moon does shine down there, you are able to see maybe 5 to 8 feet in front of you, or make out what an object is. You just well enough to know what it is, but not a bunch of details on it, I should say. So I heard that. And then I don't know why, but this sticks out in my mind too. I was also thinking, well, maybe it could be my footing echoing off of the river somehow. I don't know. Almost like one of those things where you're kind of scared, but you don't want to pay attention to it, so you try to fill your head with other things to make that feeling subside. So, God, I went a little further, and the trail goes straight to the right. Right after you get over those big rocks and that barred gate thing, it kind of goes down a little bit like a little hill, and then it goes straight to the right, and then the trail goes straight. Well, kind of zigzags a little bit, but it's just straight ahead. I didn't even get that far. I got where it curves. There's an open part where there is rock, like a rock on the left side. The thicket's to the right, but on the left side there is open rock that people would stand on to fish, and then there's a river right there, but the rock is partially on the land and in the river, but the rock is massive, but it's like in the round in a way, if that makes sense. So again, that area was kind of open to bring in some light of the moon. Whew. So I'm so sorry. I know I'm taking my sweet times here, but it's like my heart's going 90, and this one was when I got a little further, right there on that corner, I heard the deepest growl that I have ever heard in my entire life. I felt it, Jeff. I felt it in my stomach. I felt it in my being. I felt it like it was. Oh my God! I don't even know why I'm crying, but
It's okay.
It was beyond deep. The only way I can describe this, and I'm sorry, I'm doing the best that I can right now. The only way that I can describe this is, okay, my husband at the time, the father of my boys, he has a very bassy, deep voice, like a manly voice. And almost, actually, just kind of like what you do, Jeff, when you talk, sometimes you clear your throat, and you do that. Yeah, you're just clearing your throat.
Right.
But that deep bassiness to it,
Yeah.
times that by 500. But this was literally, this was to my right side in the woods part. And I knew it had to be no more than 2 to 3 feet away from me. I mean, it was something that, if looking back at it now, closing, like if I were to close my eyes and then snap away all the trees and everything that was between us, I probably could have stuck my arm out and leaned over a little bit, and I probably would have touched it. I mean, I gotta breathe for a second. I'm just... I'm sorry.
You're doing fine. You're doing fine.
I feel like I'm like talking so fast, and I feel like my breath can't like catch up with what's going through my head, like everything that I'm trying to process and then trying to get out. But I'm trying to make sure I say it enough to make enough sense, because if I just say it the way that my brain is processing it, it's not going to make any sense to anybody else. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things where if you do it that way, that's when people are going to think you're crazy. But okay, so as soon as I heard that, I don't know why, but I don't know how. Well, I know why, but I dropped my phone and I peed my pants. That's embarrassing to say. As a mom, as a wife at the time, as a woman who's almost 40, it scared me enough that I urinated on myself.
Listen, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. Grown men have admitted to that, so it's understandable.
And like I said, at that time, I dropped my phone, and then I swear, at the same time as dropping the phone and my bladder letting loose, which I had no control over, it's like it was so traumatizing that the rest of my body couldn't keep its normal functions like my brain was trying to compensate for what is going on at that very moment, that my bladder let loose. And it's amazing of how our bodily functions can do that. Like, it pays attention to what's most important, like we were talking about earlier. But anyway, so as soon as that happened, I mean, when I say a stick broke, I'm not talking about a stick. I'm talking about like a branch being snapped or ripped right next to me, like it was in the way. And it was just the noise of it happened so quick. It was just, and when I'm talking about this, I mean, this all happened so fast. It was like a matter of like a minute or so, like, but there's so much in depth of everything that I'm noticing and observing. It's almost like time stands still. But anyway, so that breaks. I see what my husband at the time was explaining when he mentioned the ears. I saw that. I saw his eyes. I saw his nose. Didn't really have a neck. And I saw the branch that was in his hand. His hand. And I'm saying his because you could tell it was a male. But all this happened so fast. I mean, before I knew it, I was running. And please don't think I'm trying to hold back information or anything. But the next thing that I remember is I remember inhaling as I'm running so hard that my lungs were burning and stinging. But I remember that feeling running through that parking lot and going past a black car that was parked in the parking lot area. And I don't remember how I got home. I don't remember the run home. I don't remember showering. I don't remember going to bed or waking up the next day. Not being able to remember the walk home, or the run home, I should say, or the showering part. It's almost like it's a crazy feeling to know that you showered, but you don't remember the actions. It's a crazy feeling to know that you got home, but you don't know exactly how. But I know that I definitely ran because of the motions of me running home through the parking lot. And I live literally from where that incident happened. I live walking distance, maybe 2 to 3 minutes, 5 minutes tops if you walk really slow. So I must have gotten home. You know what really bothers me about this too? I don't even know if I said hello to my children. I don't know if my children talk to me about something. I don't know. And I feel awful. I like, how am I supposed to be a mom and not know what if my little boy at the time was asleep and he had a bad dream and he came in and told me about it? What if something happened to him and he talked to me about it? I don't remember. I don't remember. And I'm ashamed to talk to them about it. I did ask my mom the next day. She said that the boys went to bed as soon as I left. So I am happy to know at least that much. But yeah, that's what happened.
That's definitely, the PTSD, repressed memory thing, that's actually, a scientific, psychological effect of a traumatic experience. I want to steer you away from that encounter because your next one is a lot better for your mentality.
So shortly after that, so as I said, that trail is on Buffinsville Road. And such a weird name to say. I always feel like I'm saying it wrong every time I say it. But one of our friends, my boys are friends with this lady and her husband with their children. And their house, ironically, is the house right next to that parking lot. And so their backyard faces that river. God, this one's so crazy, but it's kind of cool. We had the chance to see a beautiful, curious little guy. And that makes up for everything else. It really does. It's amazing. So we went over there, long story short, over there grilling, and we're out back there, and she notices that there's something standing. Well, all right, her yard has almost like those boulder things, those rocks along the foundation, but they're kind of like the bigger rocks, not like the ones from the settlers that marked the edge of their property or anything, but these were just like the bigger boulders, kind of like the ones that were in the parking lot of the trail area. But anyway, so she has a few of those along the edge of her property, and it's not a really big yard at all. It's, I don't know, not even like a half an acre, maybe, if that. So then there's the woods right there along with those rocks. And we see he had to have been, maybe like the size of like a 10-year-old or a 10 to 12-year-old boy. I mean, he was standing there, and I swear to God, he came out because we were grilling. I mean, just plain as day. I mean, he was the most beautiful. I mean, if you could put together like the way almost like, if people can Google a coyote the way they look around here, and how cute, like a red fox, their nose in like a German Shepherd, and stand them up, like with a human body with hair all over it, and cute little raccoon hands. I mean, he was gorgeous, Jeff. I mean, he was so curious. So curious. I don't know how else to say this, but, and then we heard a snap, like a really small twig break. His head turned. He looked back at us, and the way he turned to go away was so, like, the way he maneuvered his body was a way that we normally wouldn't do it as humans. He literally, he was so quick about it. But I swear when he took off, we barely even heard him. Like, it was just, like, after knowing that he ran off into the woods and not hearing where he went, and we're so close to the woods, imagine how many of these are actually around and we don't even know it. I mean, it was awesome. That's all I could say. It was awesome. I mean, he was so cute. I literally, her and I, we were so shocked, but yet almost like grateful to see something so beautiful. I mean, it was awesome. And then her and I had a conversation recently, and she told me that it stole a bird feeder. He grew, not doubled his size since then. Like I said, that happened in 2019, more towards the end of summer, almost around like this time. He did grow, but she said that she had this bird feeder out in her yard, and the way he came up and took it and grabbed it so quick, he like wrapped his arm around it and ran off on all, I can't say all fours, all threes. he took off like a three-legged dog. That's exactly the way she said it. Like he had it tucked with his little hand, well, big hand, in towards his chest area, and he was gone. Took off into the woods with a bird feeder. And when you and I were talking, and when you said that he has a little toy, you know, that's what even her husband was saying, that he, you know, what else do they have? What else has he stolen? You know, I mean, wouldn't it be funny if he has this little collection of just random little doodads? And it makes you wonder sometimes. Huh?
Garden gnomes and other things.
Yeah. Well, think about this. Think about sometimes, and I believe all of us have had this happen. We're out in the woods, walking, going camping in areas that nobody else has gone in, and we find random stuff. How is it put there? I mean, it could be, we don't know. So is it, I mean, some of those things out there randomly placed in the woods could be something that a critter stole, whether it be a raccoon or one of these guys or, you know, anything. But like, it's so not, I don't want to say funny, but it's so amazing how he just made the decision that was his now, and he's gonna run away with it. not on his feet, but with the rest of the three appendages that he has to hobble along to take off with his prized possession, you know. And it's just, I don't know, I think it's absolutely amazing. And the best thing about this is we can hear him, and we can hear a bigger one. I was trying to explain to you, Jeff, the other night that we can hear almost like a man or a teenager boy, like more together, like the vocal cords haven't like matured well enough. Can you help me here with what I'm trying to say?
Like when a boy is going through puberty, it's got like that deep guttural, and then it goes to like a squeak kind of. It hasn't matured yet.
Yeah. So we can hear that mainly at night, but it'll be dead quiet. And then all of a sudden you'll just hear very strange yips, or like a call or something. And I know what coyotes sound like, or even the coy dogs and whatnot, and the fisher cats. And fisher cats almost sound like something is murdering a pig, or it sounds like a baby or a woman screaming. It's loud. But these things, you can hear, and we know what it is. You can hear him interacting with an adult. And I'm assuming it's a male adult, because the bass on that, the sound of the deepness of it, I can't say that it's identical to what I walked into. Oh my God, every time I even start to talk, like, it just grabs me. But it could be that one. I don't know. But either way, it's an adult and it's got to be that little guy. That's basically what we've nicknamed him, little guy or little man, which is ironic. But you were talking about him, you called him little man too. So that's his name now, just little man, and one day he'll be big man. And I really hope he enjoys his little collected items and isn't too scared away, by the people around here. But obviously they're not, because they are not far at all. And if people are trying to figure out where I'm talking about, just look up Somersworth, New Hampshire, and look up the Salmon Falls River and Blossomsville Road. There's a river walk trail right along the river. That's where the first one that I actually saw was. And then where he stole the bird feeder was right next to that parking lot. But you can see how dense the wood area is in that area. Like, it's just, there's plenty of space for them to live.
There's a lot of space. I don't mean to cut you off, but we're coming up on time. I do want to emphasize a point to everybody. Where Lorianne is talking about when she says there is a lot of space, that river that runs along where she's describing, just opposite of that is Maine. And a lot of Maine is dense woods, but there is cities in Maine, but it's New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, upstate New York is very dense with woods, and they can just travel, follow the creek beds, river beds. They use those riverbeds and creek beds as roadways, like we would use a road. So it's very dense area where she lives. So.
Oh, and not to mention, which I think has a connection to this. There's a couple of laundromats in town here. There are so many missing pets in this little area, and a majority of them, some people will put their address or the last place that they were seen are on these roads, right all along this river. It is amazing. My ex-husband and I. You what?
That's the first thing to go is the smaller animals.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. From now on, when I start seeing that stuff, I almost want to start taking pictures and sending it to you and possibly you can post it or something to see the amount that I'm talking about. I'm not just talking, a couple of dogs and a few cats here and there during the summertime or the dog gets loose. I'm talking like in the 10s or 20s.
Right.
Every 5 or 6 months. Right. I mean, and this is a small little area. I mean, it's crazy.
I have about 45 seconds left.
Okay. All right.
You want to say goodbye to everybody and give a farewell to everybody quick?
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for all your support. And I appreciate everybody's opinions, good or bad. And I understand both sides. And every now and then I jump in with the comments. And if you have any questions, I have no problem answering them to the best of my knowledge. And feel free to ask. I'm an open book. And I just want to thank everybody. And I want to thank Jeff for making this foundation for us. And I wish everybody a good night and stay safe out there.
Thank you for coming again. I appreciate it. And I really appreciate you sharing the really hard one. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Anytime.
And there you have it, folks. I do hope you all enjoyed tonight's second half as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is, after all, your support that keeps this channel growing and going and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect we deserve. Stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and our friends. These creatures are real. They are out there and they are dangerous. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.